My brother faked being me to collect a $15,000 grant. So I built a website in his name that promoted all his lies, then sent it to every employer he applied to. I've always been the kind of person who tries to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially family. I grew up being told, blood is thicker than water, even when that blood made my life harder than it needed to be. That was especially true with my older brother, Nathan. Nathan was 2 years older than me, and for most of our lives, he coasted on charm and shortcuts. I was the quiet one, obsessed with books, always buried in some coding project, while Nathan was the golden boy, the one who made our parents laugh, even when he messed up, the one who could talk his way out of anything. We weren't close growing up, but we weren't enemies either. He just didn't take me seriously. Called me tech nerd, little mouse, Mr. Robot. You get the idea. When he got into trouble at school, it was my perfect attendance, or honor roll, that he'd throw in my face. But I let it go. That was Nathan. All bark, very little bite. Or so I thought. After college, I got serious about building a social impact app, something small, local. It connected low-income families with leftover groceries from restaurants and grocery stores, helping reduce waste while feeding people in need. I started it during my final year, bootstrapped the back end myself, ran the local delivery network with 2 volunteers and my beat-up Corolla. When I heard about a government-backed innovation grant for digital solutions to community hunger, I thought, this is it. This is finally something I'm proud to put out there. I applied, submitted a detailed proposal, complete with testimonials, my code base, and a 5-year plan. Weeks passed. No word. Then I got the rejection email. Unfortunately, your submission has been disqualified due to duplicate application and verification discrepancies. What? I called the helpline. After nearly an hour of hold music and getting transferred 3 times, someone finally told me, there's already an applicant under your name and email. The system flagged the second one, yours, as a duplicate. I sat there stunned. I didn't apply twice, I said. Well, the guy said, someone did. And the first one's already been approved. Funds are dispersing this week. I hung up, heart racing. Someone had faked my application, used my name and my idea, and got the $15,000 grant. And then a horrible thought hit me. I opened Instagram. Sure enough, Nathan had just posted a photo the day before. Caption, funding secured. Big things coming soon. The photo? Him standing in front of a laptop with MY uploaded on the screen. I couldn't breathe. It made sense in the worst way. Nathan had crashed at my apartment 2 months earlier for a few weeks, saying he was figuring things out. I'd shown him the app back then. Just proud big brother moment stuff. He was always broke, always on the edge of a new hustle, and I figured showing him I was doing something real would motivate him. I didn't realize it was also when he installed some kind of keylogger or made a copy of my files. Or maybe he just screenshotted everything. I don't know. But the next morning, I went full-on detective. Searched the grant portal, created a dummy account, and looked up the public list of grantees. There it was. Name, Nathan C. Project title, Feed Forward Purpose, a digital food rescue platform designed to connect surplus with need. Email, an address suspiciously close to mine, but off by 1 letter. He faked everything. Used a burner email, my idea, even slightly tweaked the project name. I stared at the screen for a long time, seething. $15,000. That was my launch money. My shot. And he took it, without a word. Didn't even try to hide it. I didn't tell my parents. They'd just tell me to talk it out. They always protected him. I didn't post online. I didn't yell at him. I didn't even call. I decided, then and there, that I'd make sure this wasn't the end of the story. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to build something. Not just a better app, a better plan, a smarter kind of revenge. And it started with buying a domain, nathanc-hustler.com. I stared at the blinking cursor on the new domain I bought, nathanc-hustler.com. It felt ridiculous at first, almost petty. But the longer I stared at the blank WordPress dashboard, the clearer the vision became. This wasn't just about revenge. This was documentation. It was about truth, about receipts, about building a permanent monument to every lie Nathan had ever wrapped himself in. And let's be clear, there were a lot of lies. I started by gathering everything. Screenshots of his fake grant application, the one he submitted using my idea. His social media posts where he bragged about building the project. Old text messages he sent while he was staying with me, asking oddly specific questions about my app, pretending to be supportive. I found the grant announcement page on the government site and archived it. Then I started laying it all out. I built the site like a portfolio, Nathan's personal brand, complete with a fake bio he'd once used on LinkedIn when trying to get freelance gigs. Self-made entrepreneur, innovator, passionate about digital solutions. I added each of his public lies next to dated screenshots showing the real origin of those ideas, mine. The whole thing was set up like an expose written in third person, but incredibly detailed, like a case study. And the best part? I linked it to a public Google Doc called the Hustler Files. Inside, I went deep. I wrote it like an investigator's report. Neutral tone, cold, clean, and backed with dates and evidence. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to prove. Still, I wasn't reckless. I password protected the site for now. I wasn't ready to unleash it yet. I needed to wait. Let him dig his own grave deeper. In the meantime, I put my own app, Scrap Meal, on the back burner. The $15,000 grant had been a blow, but I wasn't done. I found a local accelerator program and submitted an application using a different version of the pitch. I called in every favor I could. A former professor wrote me a glowing recommendation. A mentor from a summer internship vouched for my technical work. And this time, I got in. While Nathan posted filtered stories about client meetings and big partnerships that were probably just him drinking overpriced coffee, I spent 2 months grinding in that accelerator. The group was small, and everyone was focused. It was real. We met investors, worked on product market fit, talked about user feedback. I grew in ways I didn't even realize I needed. But Nathan? He kept the charade going. I watched from a distance, his socials, the fake updates, the staged team photos with people he probably paid to pose. Eventually, he launched a janky version of Feedforward, the same app he stole from me. Except it barely worked. It was clearly built by a freelancer who didn't care. I even downloaded it. It crashed on the sign-up screen. No back-end logic. Just a template with my UI, badly copied. Then I noticed something interesting. He was starting to apply for jobs. I saw a LinkedIn update that said he was looking for new opportunities in tech leadership. He hadn't posted anything about the grant in weeks. I assumed he'd blown through the money already, probably tried to scale too fast or spend it all on branding without building a real product. Classic Nathan. Now, he needed a new paycheck. And that's when I knew it was almost time. Through a friend who worked in HR, I found out Nathan had submitted resumes to at least 3 mid-sized tech companies in our area. And then the cherry on top, he applied to my startup. The one I built from the ruins of the app he tried to steal. We had just opened a position for growth manager, and he sent in his application using the same fake credentials he'd used on the grant. He had no clue it was my company. His resume was filled with fluff, scaled a nonprofit tech solution with 10K users, directed social impact strategy for digital food redistribution, secured $15,000 in innovation grants. Lies stacked on lies. I scheduled an interview through a dummy recruiter account and recorded the entire Zoom call. He rambled about his vision, referenced my app like it was his, and used technical jargon he didn't understand. I asked specific questions, real ones, like, what stack did you use? Or, what's your load balancing strategy? He blinked, stuttered, dodged. It was hilarious and infuriating at the same time. After the call, I uploaded the footage to the Hustler site. I waited 1 more week. Then I checked his LinkedIn again, excited to be exploring new roles. Thank you to everyone who's reached out. Perfect. I pulled the password off the site. Sent the link, along with the Google Doc, to every employer I knew he'd applied to. Used burner emails. Made sure to be factual, professional, and common tone. Attached documentation. One by one, I watched him go silent online. No more updates. No more coffee cup photos. No more building something big. A week later, I got a single email. Subject line, "You ruined my life." No greeting. No signature. Just those 4 words. I smiled. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's just accurate. The email from Nathan, those 4 words, "You ruined my life," sat in my inbox for a full day before I even opened it again. I didn't reply. I didn't even screenshot it to save. It felt beneath me. Or maybe too little, too late. Because truth be told, I wasn't even angry anymore. That had burned out weeks ago. I was exhausted, sure. But mostly, I was focused. There was something weirdly cathartic about the whole process of watching him fall. Not because I'm cruel, but because for the first time in years, I felt heard. Not by him, not by our parents, but by the world. Let me rewind for a second. Growing up, Nathan always had the bigger voice. Literally and metaphorically. He talked over me at dinner, took credit for jokes I'd make in passing. Our parents treated his mediocrity like magic and my actual skills like hobbies. He's just outgoing, Mom would say. Or, Nathan knows how to sell himself. You should learn a thing or two. Meanwhile, I was designing apps in middle school. Quietly, of course. I didn't show them to anyone until college, because every time I shared anything growing up, Nathan would somehow make it his. Like the time I submitted a design to a school art contest, and he copied it, changed 2 colors, and submitted his version to another competition. He won a prize. I got grounded for starting drama when I called him out. So when I exposed his grant fraud and sent that digital paper trail to every employer, it wasn't revenge for one thing. It was revenge for everything. And yet, it wasn't really about the revenge. Not anymore. Because while Nathan's LinkedIn went quiet and his inbox probably imploded from rejection notices, I was busy building something real. Scrapmeal 2.0, my community food redistribution app, had finally gained traction. We got picked up by a mid-sized publication after a local pilot program partnered with us. I had a team now. Real users. Real data. And I was staring down the barrel of a funding round that would change everything. One investor even asked, during a pitch call, "So, you're the guy with that expose site?" He smirked. I froze for a second. Then I said, "Yeah, I document things." He nodded. "Good. The world needs receipts." I was building my name on something Nathan had tried to fake. And that made all the difference. About a month after the email, Nathan actually tried calling me, twice. I didn't answer. I let both go to voicemail. The first was 30 seconds of breathing and a muttered, "Dude, we need to talk." The second was angrier. "You think this makes you better than me? You're so smug now, huh? All high and mighty. Over 15 grand? You've always been jealous." Jealous. That word stuck in my head like a splinter. Jealous? Of what? His lies? His shortcuts? If anything, I spent most of my life resenting how easy everything seemed to come to him. How he could lie through his teeth and still get applause. Meanwhile, I built and never got credit until I created a platform just to prove he stole from me. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Then our mom got involved. She called me out of the blue one morning, her tone already defensive. "What happened with you and Nathan?" she asked. I raised an eyebrow even though she couldn't see me. "You'll have to be more specific. He said you're ruining his reputation. That you hacked him." I actually laughed. "Mom, he stole my app. He faked a grant application in my name. That's fraud. I didn't hack him. I just published the truth." There was a pause. Then, in that soft, guilt-laden tone she always used when she wanted me to back down, she said, "I just think maybe you're going too far. Family forgives each other." I swallowed hard. Did he tell you he pretended to be me to get 15 grand? Or that he crashed my job interview to sell himself as the founder of my project? Or that he stole my idea while living in my apartment for free? Another pause. Longer. "I didn't know all that," she said, quieter now. "But still, airing family drama online, it's not good." That's when I realized. They didn't care about what he did. They cared that I stopped playing the quiet, forgiving little brother. I didn't air drama, Mom. I posted facts. With dates. With proof. It's not my fault if the truth is embarrassing. She sighed. "You used to be such a sweet boy." I bit back the urge to scream and just said, "I still am. I just got tired of being your scapegoat." Then I hung up. A week later, I got an alert that someone had tried to take down the website. False DMCA claims, probably filed by Nathan under fake legal names. But I'd already protected it. Watermarked the screenshots. Archived everything. It stayed up. And then something amazing happened. I got a message from a startup recruiter. "Hey, saw your work with Scrapmeal. Also read the Nathan C. Hustler site. I don't know whether to be impressed or scared. Either way, we're hiring. Let's talk." I grinned. Not because I needed a job, I didn't, but because I realized something. Nathan taught me the power of reputation. And I was building one with truth, not smoke. It wasn't until Nathan posted a video on TikTok that I realized how deep his denial ran. In the clip, probably filmed in his childhood bedroom, judging by the peeling posters, he was ranting to the camera, voice shaky, but still pretending he had control. This is what happens when your own family turns on you, when jealous people can't stand to see you win. He said win, like it was something permanent, not borrowed. I watched it twice. Not out of shock, but curiosity. He never mentioned my name, but everyone in our small circle, our mutuals from high school, our extended family, even a few college friends knew. And now he was painting himself as the victim of a targeted smear campaign. The comment section was split. Some people offered sympathy, others tore into him. But what stood out most? He still didn't apologize. Not once. And it wasn't even about the money anymore. Honestly, I'd stopped caring about the $15,000 after the first investor call for Scrap Meal 2.0. What burned was the deliberate theft, the silence after, the arrogance that followed. He'd gotten caught and doubled down. It reminded me of the time he crashed my high school graduation party just to tell my friends I'd barely scraped by even though I graduated top 5 in my class. Or when he told mom I plagiarized a short story that went viral on Tumblr, just so she'd stop bragging about me at a family dinner. Nathan didn't like when I did well. He liked when I was useful but invisible. And when I stopped being invisible, he lashed out. So, I gave him exactly what he deserved, visibility. But here's where it gets complicated. When the video went semi-viral, maybe not mainstream viral, but enough to rack up a few thousand views, I got DMs from people I didn't know. A girl named Eliza messaged me with a simple sentence. He used to do this kind of stuff at our university too. We ended up talking. Eliza had been in a startup incubator with Nathan 2 years prior, during a summer entrepreneurship camp. He'd stolen someone's pitch idea, again, and presented it under a slightly altered name. She didn't have receipts, but she connected me with someone who did. And just like that, the Hustler files doubled in content. Now, it wasn't just me. It was 3 people, then 5. Then one anonymous submission from someone who said he used to freelance for Nathan and never got paid. At some point, the site turned from a petty revenge project into something bigger, accountability. I didn't advertise it. I didn't spam anyone. But word spread. Quietly. Naturally. Then I started getting job inquiries from HR departments, not because I was looking for work, but because they wanted background checks on Nathan. That's when I knew I'd created something powerful. Still, I didn't gloat. I didn't post about it publicly. I wasn't looking for applause. I just kept building. Scrap Meal started a new pilot program in 2 more cities. I brought on a technical co-founder and finally allowed myself to breathe a little. One night, though, I got a text from my dad. It just said, "Can you call your brother?" I stared at the screen for a minute. We hadn't spoken in nearly a year. Dad and I were never that close. He was always more interested in Nathan's charm than my quiet accomplishments. But the fact that he reached out at all meant something. Still, I didn't call. I messaged instead. "What's this about?" He replied, "He's not doing well. Says he can't get work. Thinks you're trying to ruin his life." I typed out a long reply, then deleted it, rewrote it, deleted again. Eventually, I just sent, "I didn't ruin his life. I just stopped hiding the truth." Dad never responded. A week later, I got another email, not from Nathan, from someone claiming to be his career coach. I almost laughed. It was a long, overly formal message that basically boiled down to, "Would you consider removing the website for the sake of his professional recovery?" I didn't reply. I did, however, post a brief update to the website's homepage. This archive exists for transparency, not vengeance. All content is backed with verifiable evidence. Should any statements prove false or misrepresented, I will be the first to correct them. That was it. No shade. No malice. Just a line in the sand. You'd think this whole saga would have left me bitter. But strangely, I felt lighter than I had in years. I hadn't realized how much of my life had been shaped by shrinking to make room for Nathan. At home, in school, even in my career. But now, I was growing. Fully. Unapologetically. I gave talks at 2 conferences that year, one specifically on tech ethics and plagiarism in the startup space. I didn't name Nathan. I didn't have to. The people in that world already knew about him. One organizer even introduced me like this: "Please welcome the founder of Scrap Meal and the man behind one of the most honest accountability sites we've ever seen." The applause surprised me. It wasn't for revenge. It was for standing up. And maybe that's the real ending. Not the clapback. Not the clever domain name. Not even the emails that proved I was right. The real win was this: I got to be me, without erasure. Without Nathan rewriting my story. I'd written it myself. In code, in truth, in silence, and eventually, in strength. It's strange how quiet revenge can be once the dust settles. Not the kind that ends in screaming matches or courtroom drama. Just silence. Uneasy, bitter silence. The kind that follows a storm when all the wreckage is laid bare and everyone has to look at what's left. That's what life became for Nathan. And I knew, because despite the silence, I could still track the aftermath. It's amazing what you learn when you build a paper trail for someone who spent his entire life avoiding one. 3 months after the website went live, Nathan's name had become a quiet red flag in certain circles. Not blacklisted, not overtly, but flagged enough that every employer he contacted either ghosted him or reconsidered after a background check. I never told anyone not to hire him. I never needed to. I simply made it impossible to ignore what he'd done. That's the thing with truth. It doesn't need to yell. It just needs to be seen. But this part of the story isn't really about Nathan anymore. It's about me, about what comes after revenge. Because that's where I stumbled more than I care to admit. At first, I thought I'd feel triumphant. I expected some cinematic sense of justice, like the closing scene in a revenge film. What I got instead was a persistent question. Now what? I'd built my company. Scrapmeal was doing better than I ever imagined. Our latest round of funding closed with triple the projections. I was invited to speak at a national entrepreneurship summit, not just as a founder, but as someone who had navigated integrity under pressure. But late at night, when the inbox went quiet and the lights dimmed in the apartment, I found myself staring at the ceiling and thinking of 12-year-old me. The kid who used to hide in the library to avoid Nathan's sarcastic jabs. The one who had to convince their parents that he stole my science fair idea wasn't a petty sibling fight. It was a pattern. The one who started keeping receipts before he even knew what the word gaslighting meant. That kid deserved peace. But peace isn't the same as justice. And it definitely isn't the same as revenge. One afternoon, months after everything had unfolded, I got a knock at my office door. It was my dad. I hadn't seen him in over a year. He looked older than I remembered. Or maybe I was just seeing him differently. His eyes scanned the room. Industrial lighting, clean lines, the framed patent application on the wall, and then landed on me, wearing the same hoodie I wore in high school. Except now it was paired with a $600 ergonomic chair and a calendar booked out 3 weeks. I didn't come to fight, he said quietly. I nodded. Didn't think you did. There was a pause, thick with years of misunderstanding. He finally spoke. Nathan's living with us. He's not doing well. Says no one will hire him. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, actions have consequences. I know, he said. And that surprised me more than anything. I should have listened to you earlier. I didn't say anything. He shifted in the chair across from me, eyes heavy. He told me what he did. The grant, the website, the fallout. But he won't admit the rest. Not the way he used to lie about you, or take credit, or pit us against each other. That part's harder to own, I said, because it's who he is. There was another pause. He looked like he was searching for something to say, some olive branch that wouldn't break halfway out of his mouth. I guess I came here to ask if you'd take the site down. I leaned back. Not because he deserves it, he added quickly, but because maybe you do. Maybe it's time you let go. That hit harder than I expected. Not because he was wrong, but because he was almost right. I thought about it for days after he left. I didn't give him an answer in the room, and he didn't push. Just nodded, said, I'm proud of you, and left. And that was the first time I believed it. I didn't take the site down. Not entirely. But I did archive it. Locked it behind a password. Sent a final update. This archive is now closed. The contents remain true, and always will. But this chapter is finished. For me, if not for him. Then I logged off. Closed the tab. Pushed my chair back and stepped outside for the first walk I'd taken in weeks. And it felt good. Not the high of revenge. Not the satisfaction of victory. Just relief. Like I could finally breathe without thinking about what Nathan would take next. He hasn't reached out. I doubt he ever will. But last I heard, from a friend of a friend, he was working part-time at a co-working space, managing snacks and coffee machines. He still tells people he ran a startup once, though the details get murkier every time. Me? I'm still building. Not out of spite. Not to prove anything. Just because I can. Because I'm good at it. Because I love it. Because no one's erasing my name this time. And every now and then, when I'm speaking at a panel or helping a young founder navigate their first funding pitch, I'll tell them this. Build receipts. But more than that, build truth. That's what outlives lies. That's what holds. It always does.